All right, well, we're taking basically two concepts at a time with each of these slides or illustrations in order to help you understand each one at a time. And now we're going to turn our attention a little bit to forgetting itself and how we engage in memory itself. And so I want to, for the next couple of videos, we're going to look at memory construction errors. And the thing I want you to remember when we're talking about memory itself is that as I've said to you in other contexts and other aspects of this whole thing, is that memory by its definition is a construction process. We don't remember things in just straight video form. We remember things as bits and pieces of information. Memories are not stored as exact copies, and they certainly aren't retrieved as such. So we construct our memories in using both stored and new information. And what you see over in this diagram here is a good example of how the information flow occurs. And what you notice is that the pool of information grows less and less the farther down the process it goes. And so what we're left with are these small bits of information, and then when I go to try to remember them, I fill in information trying to construct something that is logical to me in some fashion. And so what we refer to is essentially what we call the misinformation effect. And what this means then is that people will witness an event, they'll receive or not receive misleading information about it, and then take a memory test, and they act as if they've actually remembered it. And so they repeat the error of the information, the error in the information they received as if it is a memory. And that's what we refer to as misinformation. People basically misremember things. I'm reminded a little bit of the old adage where it says, a lie travels halfway around the world before truth puts its pants on. And that's really the idea here behind the misinformation. Actually, we can, and this comes into play even as therapists when we're working with people. If we're not careful with the kind of questions we ask, we can actually insert misinformation by accident, certainly not by plan, and memories are constructed, and that's, again, I'm going to just keep repeating it so that you never forget it. Memory constructed. And so by the questions I ask, depending on the person, they will want to comply with the question. They go searching through their memory for some bit of information. Remember here, the bits of information down here, and construct something to fit. To fit the question that I'm basically asking about. So memory construction errors occur, and a good example, essentially, which is a little bit of a joke, is in this particular cartoon down here on the left, down here, is essentially, this is one of those beautiful summer days when I'm flooded with memories of things that never happened to me. And so is it an encoding problem? Is it a retrieval problem? It's probably a little bit of both. And we engage in a variety of aspects that come into play. Now let me give you an example here. Is by the question, just simply by the question that's asked, will depend on how I go about answering it. And so essentially, if I have a depiction of an accident and I ask the question, how fast were two cars going when they smashed into each other, versus hitting each other, then essentially the people will recall according to the word smashed. And they will therefore report glass and broken things and broken bumpers and all sorts of things along that line because of the word smashed, versus recall if I say, what do you recall about this incident when the two cars hit each other? And because of just these two key words, the recall that the person has is entirely impacted by the nature of the question. And so essentially questions can lead people to different conclusions, and we refer to those as leading questions. And in therapy, we are trained to be very careful with these questions, particularly with children, in recalling memories that have occurred or things that have occurred to them. We have to be extremely careful, and essentially the report, even the reporter's affect, has to be very guarded when taking a report of child abuse by a child, because even the response of the questioner can lead a child to a conclusion that may not be true. And so I have a particular student in one of the graduate program classes that I teach that has to take a report from kids that have been sexually abused, and she has to be extremely careful with her reaction and the questions that she asks and how she asks them, to make sure that anything like this might influence the kids' retelling of the story, if you will. And that's all very much a part of this misinformation effect that we're talking about here.